Richard Nixon's slogan in that campaign was "Experience counts," to which John F. Kennedy responded, and I quote, "To exclude from positions of trust and command all those below the age of 44 would have kept Jefferson from writing the Declaration of Independence, Washington from commanding the Continental Army, Madison from fathering the Constitution, and Christopher Columbus from even discovering America." On January 20th, 1961, as a 12-year-old boy, I stood in the snow in front of the Capitol as John Fitzgerald Kennedy took the oath of office. I know what his inspiration meant to my generation, and I feel that same spirit in this auditorium here tonight, building all over this country this year. I feel your determination after 2 terms of the Bush-Cheney administration to change the direction of our country. In looking back over the last 8 years, I can tell you that we have already learned one important fact since the year 2000. Take it from me, elections matter. If you think the next appointments to our Supreme Court are important, you know that elections matter. If you live in the city of New Orleans, you know that elections matter. If you or a member of your family are serving in the active military, the National Guard, or reserves, you know that elections matter. If you're a wounded veteran, you know that elections matter. If you've lost your job, if you're struggling with your mortgage, you know that elections matter. If you care about a clean environment, if you want a government that protects you instead of special interests, you know that elections matter. If you care about food safety, if you like a T on your BLT, you know that elections matter. If you bought poison lead-filled toys from China or adulterated medicine made in China, if you bought tainted pet food made in China, you know that elections matter. After the last 8 years, even our dogs and cats have learned that elections matter. Because America needs change more than ever. After 8 years of lost jobs and lower wages, we need change. After 8 years of incompetence, neglect, and failure, we need change. After 8 years in which our Constitution has been dishonored and disrespected, we need change. After 8 years of the worst, most serious foreign policy mistakes in the entire history of our nation, we need change. In September of 2002, I argued strongly that the invasion of a country that had not attacked us would be a mistake and would divert attention, resources, and resolve from the effort to track down and capture those who had attacked us. I argued that the occupation of Iraq would be dangerous and harmful for our country. And I well remember how few elected officials were willing to take that position in favor of protecting our national security by remaining focused on the right objectives. But I remember that an eloquent legislator in Springfield, Illinois, named Barack Obama, spoke up boldly and clearly with the force of reason and logic to join in opposition to that blunder. To those who still do not understand that the withdrawal of troops from the search for bin Laden in order to launch a misguided invasion of Iraq was a mistake, it's time to say we need a change. To To those who want to continue making that same mistake over and over again indefinitely, it is important for us to say loudly and clearly with our votes this November, we need change. We intend to have change. We need 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 change. To those who want to continue borrowing money from China to buy oil from the Persian Gulf and burn it in ways that destroy our planet's environment, it's time to say, we need change. Barack Obama knows that we are too dependent on foreign oil and carbon fuels and has proposed a plan to create millions of good new jobs in renewable green energy, conservation, and efficiency. Here in Detroit, you know we need to revitalize our automobile industry with a commitment to plug-in hybrids and low-emission vehicles to solve the climate crisis and create the jobs of the future. The future is ours, not to predict, but to create. But make no mistake, we need to change our policies on climate. Not too many years from now, the next generation will look back at the decisions we make this coming November and the policies we put in place in January of next year. Were we to ignore the warnings of the scientists around the world and look the other way as the entire North Polar ice cap melts before our eyes and the consequences we've been warned about unfolded, our children might then well ask, what were they thinking? Why didn't they act? Why didn't they choose change when they had a chance? It is my deep hope that they will ask another and very different question. I want them to look back on this historic year and ask, how did Americans in 2008 find the moral courage to rise and successfully solve a crisis that so many said was impossible to solve? How did they find the strength to change? As Americans, we know that our democracy often moves very slowly, but we also know that when we must, we can shift gears quickly and suddenly pick up the pace to respond boldly to a great challenge. That's what the greatest generation did to win World War II, and then came home to start the Marshall Plan, unify Europe, create the United Nations, and create the basis for peace and prosperity for decades. Many people have waited for some sign that our country is awakening once again. How will we know when a massive wave of reform and recovery and regeneration is about to take hold and renew our nation? What would it look like if such a change were beginning to build? I think we might recognize it as a sign of such change if we saw millions of young people getting involved for the first time in the political process. I think we might just recognize that if we saw that new generation casting aside obsolete and hurtful distinctions and reaching out to one another across the ancient divisions that have frustrated action in the past. I think we would know this change was coming if a new generation rejected the special interest politics of the past and the big money that fueled it, and instead used the internet to get small donations and unite Americans in a common effort to realize our common destiny. If we saw it coming, we'd recognize it by the word hope and change. Perhaps we would recognize it if we heard a young leader rise up to say, we're not a red state America or a blue state America, we are the United States of America. We would know that change was on the way if that young leader reached out not only to the supporters of the other candidates in his party, but also beyond partisan lines, to Republicans and independents, and said to us all, America, our time has come. I think we would recognize it in a candidate who, in response to those doubting our ability to solve the climate crisis and create a bright future, inspired millions to say, yes, we can. We have such a nominee. We have such a leader. Yes, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, the next president